Hello everyone, and here we are back with our terms from vocabulary during the Romantic period. We're just going to take another slice out of this pie, and it's going to run from murmur to recusant. Okay, so here we go. We had the word mutter a couple of weeks ago, and now we have murmur, which is hushed speech. We could hear the murmur of the brook as we lay in the countryside, right? If someone is notorious, this is a bad word. This is someone who is well known for doing something not so good for an unfavorable reason. So you wouldn't be praising someone by calling them notorious. The notorious bank robber, for example. That's how you can use it. Obeisance. You could see the word obedient here, or obey, and that's what it means. It's a sort of gesture that implies submission or obedience. There was no sign of obeisance from the recalcitrant child. They never showed any signs of giving in. To obliterate an area is to utterly destroy it. To obliterate is to leave no trace of, blot out. An ominous setting is a threatening one. We talk about the ominous setting of the catacombs. It's indicative of evil, something that is an evil omen or inauspicious, unfavorable. An ominous setting. To have a house that's described as being ostentatious, or to dress in an ostentatious fashion, is to be very showy, overly decorative, maybe even a bit garish. A pendulum is an object that swings. We know this from the Poe short story, The Pit and the Pendulum. It swings back and forth. Utter perdition is utter damnation. Tom Walker is headed towards perdition. And getting back to pendulum for a second, it moves with periodicity. Periodicity means it's occurring at regular intervals. So it's sliding back and forth and slicing back and forth in periodicity. Regular interval. When someone isn't feeling well, you might describe them as looking pallid. Pallid is kind of sickly and pale. Those of you who are skiers are familiar with the area upstate New York called Lake Placid, given the name because the lake itself is very calm. When you're placid, you are serene and tranquil. If a movie is poignant or a book is poignant, it's very touching. It is affecting the heart, affecting the emotions. Very poignant show. In the Founding Fathers unit, there was a reference in Thomas Paine's Crisis that all posterity will be proud of you if you step up to the plate and you do the right thing and you're not a summer soldier or a sunshine patriot. The later generations are the posterity. If you are standing on a precarious ledge, it's kind of dangerous. If something is precarious, it's uncertain, it's perilous. It was precariously perched on the bust of Pallas, right? The raven was. If it's your prerogative to do something or not do something, it's your right. It's your privilege. Presage could be used as a verb or a noun. A presage is an omen or a sign. The thunder and lightning was a presage that we needed to stop calling upon the spirits. And to presage something is to predict it or to foresee. Preternaturally means anything that's beyond the ordinary. It is outside the ordinary course of nature. At the beginning of the tall tale, The Devil and Tom Walker, there's a comment from the narrator that says earthquakes were prevalent in New England at that time, which was, of course, a quackish comment to make, but something that's prevalent is generally existing, pervasive. There was a sense of indifference that was prevalent throughout that class. Prevalent. Okay, so last bunch. In order to propitiate a child who's crying, you may give him or her a lollipop. You want to appease or satisfy the needs of someone. That's to propitiate. If you're worried about the proximity of that insect to you, you're worried about its nearness. How close is it to you? Proximity. Its closeness, its location. When someone pries, they are looking into someone else's business, perhaps. It's not necessarily a good word. It means to inquire, but a lot of times it means being nosy. A quagmire is a bog or a marsh or a swamp. And we know that the setting of The Devil and Tom Walker had the description of quagmires. When something is radiant, it is emitting light. I could use it literally when I'm talking about the sun being radiant, or I could say about a person being radiant. They are beaming with joy. If you've ever used the expression, oh, I'm feeling ravenous, you're basically saying you're feeling very hungry, voracious. I think most of us know what a recluse is. A recluse is a person, right? So it's a person who lives in isolation. A recluse is someone who doesn't like to come out of the house. You'll find that was the truth about Emily Dickinson. She became a recluse later in her life. I drink to the dead who repose around me, says Fortunato. I drink to the dead who rest or sleep around me. And lastly, a recusant would be the opposite of someone who is in obeisance. A recusant is a person who refuses to submit. A person who refuses to comply. And that's enough for now because there's still a whole extra column to go, but we'll break it off right here.